Hello and welcome to the Music Survival Guide, the independent musician's guide on how to survive in the music industry. My name's Phil, a mixing and mastering engineer. Hope you're all doing marvellously, wonderfully well out there in podcast land. Here we are at the end of the year, and I, for one, am very, very happy about it. I'm such a winter person. I love it when it gets dark really early. I love it when, it's cozy inside and things like that. But there we are. That's just me. Fight me. I mean, don't. But still, that's not the point. This week on the podcast, I am talking with Jonny and Matt of Electric Black. Electric Black are a really great band who I feel, to be honest, as you'll see in the podcast, since the pandemic especially, have really taken off in the UK, and it's really cool to watch. So we talk about all sorts of things like, for example, how the pandemic was a good reset point for them and a kind of good restart point for them, testing out a producer with a smaller release before a full album to see how it goes, and getting to grips with social media and the modern world, the pitfalls and the benefits and the hows and the whys. We talk about all that and more in this episode, and it's really cool. And so I'm just going to say, on with the interview. So today on the podcast, I am joined by Jonny and Matt of Electric Black. How are you both?
Very well, thanks.
Real good. Yeah, real good. Thank you for having us.
Welcome. I was going to say one and all. Welcome both of you to the podcast. So my first question, as always, is from an online random question generator, which is it's an interesting one this week. So it's have you ever been at an event that you think will one day be in the history books?
I don't think I have personally. I don't think I have. JB, I feel like you probably have.
Event, or like a concert or something. Is that the kind of event? Or just,
well, I don't know. That's a good definition. Like, if it depends what you define as.
I suppose like Live Aid sort of stuff, like the stuff that's historically.
It's a very open-ended question.
Yeah,
it's really important that you get it right.
I mean, I'm thinking like royal events and stuff. Like, I went to Diana's funeral procession.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
I was only
that's a big event.
6? No, it was 97, wasn't it?
It counts.
So I was 8, but.
You were there.
Yeah, that's all I can think of. Like big concerts and stuff.
I mean, I met Hearsay in a shop in London, so mine's not even close to being even
Hearsay.
Remotely. Yeah, that's
Wow.
how niche that is. Yeah, not even close to being interesting.
I mean, when I was thinking about this, I didn't really have an answer. But since you mentioned gigs, I mean, I've seen Heaven and Hell, like Ronnie James Dio with Black Sabbath. That was a good gig, and I was like second row. That was a good gig. And then I saw Black Sabbath, when they got back together in like 2013, they played Download, but they did a warm-up gig at a Birmingham like little O2 Institute or whatever, and I went to that gig.
That's
and
mad.
It was immense.
Yeah,
it was immense.
So was it a small venue then?
Yeah, it held what, 2,000-3,000 people?
Oof. Yeah. I bet that had some atmosphere, man.
It did.
yeah.
It did. No support band. Nobody knew who the drummer was going to be. It was a bit of a strange one, but
nice.
That was good. Anyway, my first serious question for you, I guess, or maybe, I don't know, important question. I don't know how to define it. My first question for you really is, how did you both get into music in the first place?
Hearing like good bands like Guns N' Roses. That's the first poster I looked at. Is in the background at the moment. So yeah, like just hearing that kind of stuff and being like, what's that sound? How can I sound like that? How is that created? I think that was it.
See, I kind of somewhat come from a musical family because my mum used to be a singer on cruise ships. So she was musical before I was born. So when I think she had somewhat of a plan for what she wanted for me, and she asked if I wanted guitar lessons, and thankfully I said no, I want to play the drums because I had drums. So I was like, well, I want to play these things instead. So I think I made the right choice because otherwise I wouldn't be in this podcast right now. So it's that was how it worked for me.
Do you think you fulfilled your mother's plan so far?
I think so. I believe so. I think it's all about building to the right path, and we're definitely on that. So yeah.
So you both kind of got started from quite a young age, I guess, into the world of music.
I think I wanted to play guitar when I was like 8 and 9, kind of, that kind of young. And my parents were like, oh, you'll just give it up straight away. So I didn't start until I was kind of 12. I think I had to like annoy them for a good 3 years first.
Like, does he definitely want this? If it's after 3 years of badgering, then yeah, he probably wants this. Let's give him a guitar.
I mean, it's not a cheap thing to buy a child, is it? So I can sort of appreciate it.
And I suppose if it's one of those things that they want to legitimately do, it's not just the purchase of the instrument. You've also got to put like lessons into account, and if they take to it, then the band rehearsals that come later on. Yeah, it's a big investment, but sometimes worthwhile. The reason we have this whole music scene is because those kids committed to it and stuck to it. So love it.
Here we all are.
Here we all are.
Wow. So how did the band get together in the first place? How did you all find your way to where you are?
So we were kind of two separate bands that collided and merged. So it's kind of two histories. Me and Ali, the singer, played for a good while together, and ended up just the two of us because we couldn't really hold down a drummer or a bass player. And then Matt and Ryan's band. Well, Matt can tell you that history. Yeah,
we split up. We had a good solid thing going on, but it wasn't working out for everyone. So we all went our separate ways. And then Ryan, I believe, got an offer from these lads about playing the bass. So they had a show down a local pub, and I was like, well, I'm going to go support Ryan because obviously we were in a band together previously. So I went down to the show, and Jonny was playing the drums that night. And it was only after the show I found out that Jonny was supposed to be the guitarist. So I just threw my hat into the ring and said, drummer for sale, please buy to a good home, sort of thing. And they took me on as a temp. And what is it, 6 years later, 5 years later, and I'm still temping. So things are going well, clearly.
I mean, that describes how much we didn't have a stable band together before, because I wasn't the drummer, but I had to play drums for that gig because our drummer didn't turn up. So,
but it's a fantastic situation that happened, really, because if he had turned up, this wouldn't have started what it is today. So, it's like maybe that was fate. Not that I necessarily believe in that, but, that sort of garb.
Do you think you'll ever get the permanent contract, or are you going to be a temp forever?
I mean, I'm not sure.
I think you did get a permanent contract when we kicked the guy that kept us around out of the band.
I mean, if the P45 comes now, it's going to sting a little bit. I think
you got a drunk message when Ali almost punched the old drummer.
A drunk phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning. All right, Matt, do you want the gig? Yeah, I'll go on then. I'll have it, mate.
That's wow.
Good times.
It's a very serious, formal offer to be in the band, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it worked out. It worked out in everyone's favour, I believe. So
that's fair. And that was I'm trying to get my bearings on this. That was well before the pandemic, right?
Yeah, I think that was like
2018. I want to say 2018. Yeah, like May 2018, I believe.
So you had a couple of years to get going, and then the great pause that everyone had.
Yeah. It was really well timed. I think it was really well timed for a lot of bands, because a lot of bands had stuff that was ready to come out, and there was big campaigns, and then obviously the world shut down, and that was 100% more important. So therefore we had to put everything on hold. But we just dropped our album, so it was like buried. So we had to sort of start again once the pandemic finished. It was essentially like, right, well, we know what to do now because we did it all before this, but now we're going to have to give it a chance with venues with people in, rather than trying to do acoustic stuff from 6 different houses. And yeah, so it was interesting, but it sucked in a way, like.
Yeah. It's to be honest with you, the more I think about it, the more I realise that was a big kind of reset for most of the bands that I know. I mean, a lot of bands started and stopped at that point, but a lot of bands just kind of went, right, we've had a couple of years before the pandemic, but now we're here. It's almost like a fresh beginning. It's quite cool in a way, I guess. sort
I
of.
think one of the few good things that came from it was how much time you had to think about what you want to do once it was over, and be able to plan actions and plan designs so that when you come out of this, all the stuff is ready to go. It's just being able to get in a room together, which was like, that was kind of a bonus for us because we got to use all that time to create stuff for the second album that worked out really nicely in the end.
So was that your kind of big songwriting time in many ways for the album?
I'd say a lot of it was written before.
Yeah, I think a lot of it. I think it's one of those. We actually we released the first album, and I don't know how we managed to have most of the ideas for the second one pretty much good to go, but we didn't even get the chance to really push the first album out. And then coming out of the pandemic, we were like, well, what do we do now? We should probably record all this stuff. So yeah, we've kind of gone straight from one to the next, but it's weird because there was time between them. There was time, but there wasn't us doing anything. We weren't gigging, we weren't like, it's a bit of a weird one, just trying to tell people, please listen to our stuff. Like, we'll do we used to just...
You've listened to every song that ever exists. Here's 10 more. Check them out. Now you've been in the house for a year and a half. Try these 10. But yeah.
And it was the second time round, trying to get this right in my head. It was the second time round that you went to Mike Exeter, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, we actually did an EP first, so which I keep forgetting about. But this is straight out of the pandemic. We day one, you were allowed to go into a studio. We went and recorded with Mike because we just wanted to get the whole thing going. And the idea was to kind of start recording the second album, but we had so many kind of songs and ideas that we actually made an EP out of that kind of first little trial, and then kind of continued that recording process with Mike for the second album.
Yeah, that EP was definitely a case of we want to try before we buy. In the case of like an extended product, how are we going to work together? We've heard great things, but how are we going to work together? And that worked out really, really well. So onto the second album with him, which was great.
I think that's a really good way to do it, is to go, right, do we gel well together musically and personality wise, that's the right phrase, before you've committed the money and the time to a full album experience. That's a really kind of wise way to do it, yeah.
So if you get even time and everything, you put in a lot into it, and if you get 6 months down the line and you're like, oh, okay, now it doesn't work, that's an issue. And so we wanted to make sure that wasn't a problem before we went in.
Nice. So to kind of, I guess, wind back time a bit, what was your first gig like as the four of you? How did it go? Was it good, bad, or how was it?
I'm trying to remember which one it was. Was it Esquires?
Esquires. It was either Esquires or the Red Lion. I remember it being a local, and it weren't like a huge event. It was a few friends and trying to test it out. But I think it was good in the... I don't know if musically it was good. Couldn't really remember because it was so long ago, and we've done so many gigs since. But I would like to think that it was good in the sense of this is a good unit. We work well together, and that was the most important thing about that first gig. I think was to make sure that all the cogs are moving in the same direction.
If it is the Esquires one, I mean, Matt might have been right. There might have been another gig before the one I'm thinking of. But
what's the one that you have in mind?
Yeah, that's that. Well, Bedford Esquires, I think it's that, there's kind of 3 different stages, and we played the bar stage. But I think people really we got a good reception. I think the people really enjoyed it. And I was kind of, I don't know, somewhat surprised, because I think when you're just trying out a new band kind of lineup, you're just concentrating. You're thinking is this all working together and stuff? Obviously, the audience are just listening, and they're just having a good time, and they're just watching as well. They're not just listening. They're in the zone. It was a Saturday night, and I remember, a few people really enjoying that. There's Lou from Day Dweller. I think that's the one that he came to.
Yeah, and then we ended up collabing with him for the
he does
album.
Real cool merch. So yeah, I think it was, from that point onwards, we were kind of a different band. As soon as you change a member, not only does it change kind of how you sound and stuff, but it's, the image changes, the way that people kind of, take you in, your perception of a band changes, drastically sometimes with one member, which I think a lot of people in bands forget. Sometimes, you know, they kick someone out and replace them and hope that, like, you know, no one notices, kind of thing. But I think that, you know, it does matter quite a lot as an audience member,
especially in our sort of scene, because it's such a personable scene where everybody talks to everyone and gets along with everyone, that like band members changing is a big event. You know, it's not, you know, it's always going to be that way though. It's always going to be that way.
Is it? I don't know. I guess the higher profile a band you are, the harder it is to change out a band member. I'm thinking about Linkin Park here and the rebrand, I guess.
I suppose in a way it does, but I guess it depends on how confident you are in what you're about to release. Like, because these guys know this stuff well in advance. It's like the band know what's going on well before anybody finds out on social media, or so, you know. So it's how confident are you in the product you're about to put out. And like like you say, in the case of Linkin Park, fantastic. It's worked really well. Fantastic addition, completely new chapter, brilliant. You know, and that sometimes it really works out, but sometimes it is, oh, okay, that's not as good, you know. But that how it's going to happen, you know.
So yeah, what about changing out a member and it then being a bigger band? I mean, sometimes I was thinking like, okay, Guns N' Roses and like Steven Adler, for example, and it's like, you know, for me that was the lineup, you know, when he was in the band. But you know, I get they had to kind of, you know, to move themselves forwards, change what they were doing, and that meant changing a member, you know, in that situation. So, you know, sometimes you can't help it, and it's, you know, but it is going to change the band sound as much as you try and get someone to kind of sound the same, and obviously just the look and the feel of the band. Like, no one looks the same when everyone's a individual personality in a band. You know, it's a bit different if you're kind of like a solo artist with a band, I suppose. You know, obviously there's lots of examples of those where, like, you know, they can change, you know, their backing band members, and maybe they'll have, you know, I don't know, two people they rotate on bass or whatever. And I don't think people are going to, like, you know, want their money back from their, you know, concert tickets necessarily in that situation. But I think, yeah, especially as Matt's saying, on this kind of level that we're at, I think people want to know the band. They want to, you know, talk to you after the you know, the gig and get signatures and stuff. But yeah, I guess the real big level, I mean, yeah, it is going to be harder unless you've got a reason, I suppose. You know, and some bands have to quit, don't they, because they can't carry on anymore. You know, like you know, Zeppelin and Bonham died, kind of thing. You know, they just thought, you know, that's that, can't carry on anymore. So,
Can I ask a question which may or may not make it into the podcast, depending on the way you want to enter this? So you guys have like signed things. People have asked you to sign stuff, right?
Yes.
Cool. It's something I've always wondered. Do you have a different signature for that?
Yes.
Okay. I've always wondered.
Yeah.
Because I'm there like, you could forge someone's signature and start doing all sorts of things.
No, I spent ages trying to create mine. I spent about a week trying different things, like firstly, what's going to be quick and what's going to be easy. Because if you've got loads of stuff in a night, you want it to be just a quick, like, and plus, like you say, I don't want people to be like, I'm Matt Butler from Electric Black, like, because you went, that's me, leave me alone.
Yeah, same to me. Mine's just totally different. Mine's very easy to do, the one I do for the band. So it'd be very easy to forge me. But, you know, for criminals out there, for fraudsters out there listening, you know, you won't be able to do that because that's not my real signature on my official statements.
Yeah, if you purchase one of our vinyls, you can't just take out a mortgage in one of our names. Sorry, guys.
That's a shame. That was my plan all along. Okay. I mean, I do wonder, like, how many people have just used their genuine signature and if that's ever gone wrong. But no one's ever going to admit to that, so I don't know. Okay, that question can remain in the podcast because you didn't give an answer that was going to worry me. So there we are. So have you guys had any like nightmare experience gigs where everything's gone wrong, or has it been all quite smooth sailing really?
Yeah, I think individually we have. I wouldn't say as a collective we have. I think we've all had our own individual shockers from time to time.
I think, yeah, I mean, the one that's bad that I was thinking of, which, you know, is going to bring back some bad memories maybe, but we played in, I think it was in Guildford, and Ali's amp didn't work. He brought like a really old amp for some reason, like he hasn't used in years. Ali's amps never work, even if they're new, to be honest. But, and yeah, I remember that gig kind of falling apart somewhat because the sound was terrible anyway. It's one of these things. It's just kind of things kept getting worse as the gig went on. And I think by the end of it, like the only thing that was working was my guitar or something. But you kind of like, we just kind of got through it.
I think I remember this.
Had you forgotten?
Oh no, yeah, that's horrible. Yeah, we went. Let's leave that one where it's at. I think we'll leave that one.
Honestly,
there.
I think people thought we were some kind of like punk band that just made noise by the end of it. Like just almost like kind of comedy, kind of like let's just play random bits out of time together. That's kind of.
So I thought maybe this was we were pranking the crowd or something. Like no, we're just having a breakdown. Really sorry. Like it's not.
That sounds awful. I mean, how do you? Maybe you don't, but how do you recover from something like that mid gig? Like.
That one was just get through it. That one was definitely just get your head down, make it look like things aren't going. Because I think we could have convinced the crowd that it was okay.
I mean, that one was exceptionally bad. There's been some where a few hiccups happened and we've made it through. Said, we've kind of styled it out.
I had one recently where my right drum pedal, bass drum pedal, just stopped working within 2 hits of the first song of the set. So I had to play because we have 3 songs on the hit at the start of our set. So there's no time for me to be like, pedal's broken, got to fix it. So it was 3 songs just playing it with my left foot, and that was when I realised I don't train my left foot enough. But that was horrific. That was my horrific memory of on stage.
So you're there in a rock band. And your dominant foot didn't work for the kick drum?
Yeah.
Or the pedal didn't work?
The pedal just stopped. And you don't expect, like your hi-hat foot to become your dominant foot all of a sudden. Like
the thing is, I remember looking at you and thinking something's wrong, and I was like, are you having a seizure or something? I was like, that couldn't work out. It was. You looked like you were really struggling.
I was really struggling. I was.
But you survived. You survived the experience.
Yeah. We get through. We fight through these.
You just need to find a willing victim to be your drum tech. That's what you need.
That's it. Or just a circle of bass drums so that I can just continue to spin round as the kit goes on.
I've had a few in the last few years where literally just the guitar solo, like the best guitar solo of the best song we've got. I don't know how it happens. It's just, someone hates me in some other universe. But like my guitar will cut out, like a lead will come out or whatever as I'm about to start the guitar solo. So I'll be running around trying to plug things in, and then it'll be working again just for the end. So I just miss the whole thing and come back in on the rhythm part. And they're like, is this some kind of weird theatrical thing going on? If you're watching that, like it's just an instrumental lead guitarist running around the stage trying to plug stuff in.
You're the inspiration for Corey Feldman's guitar career.
You could call it an art piece. That's what you want to do.
It is. That's what it is. It's avant-garde.
It's an avant-garde guitar solo.
And it's always one of those shitty little connector leads between pedals, of which I've got a whole drawer full of new ones here, and I change them all the time. But somehow 1 in 20 gigs, one of them will break.
Sounds to me like you're not treating your equipment properly.
There is that as well. I do need a better pedal board case to keep it all together rather than it just kind of flying over the van.
I think that might be a problem.
You're all right there.
I mean, at least you have a pedal board case. I've been to so many gigs where you watch a guitarist or whatever, or a bassist, get their pedals out one by one and plug them in. And
to be fair, the last few we've done, the other guitarists have done that, and it still looks neater than mine.
Yeah, but it's so slow. I mean, at least it's all working. But
yours looks like someone took the back off of R2-D2. It's just like, what's going on in here?
Yeah, since I've been using a wireless, wireless from pedals to guitar, it's much less likely something goes wrong because I don't trip over that main lead and then move everything. I think that's what.
I don't know how I feel about wirelesses.
Yeah, well, I have to do it for that reason, otherwise I miss.
Yeah, but the more technology you have, the more things can go wrong.
But the wireless has been all right. I mean,
That's
this
okay.
year, every gig this year it's worked, which I'm also surprised by. I always bring a lead just in case it fucks up and I can plug the lead in.
Is your lead ready to go as well? It's like just
Yeah, that's something I literally have it just like, roaming around. There's something else to trip over, I suppose. But it's just on the stage.
Isn't the stage just a big trip hazard anyway? I thought that's all they were, really.
Some of them are, yeah. I mean, again, we've had some really bad ones this year and some good ones, some refreshingly good ones.
That sounds good, at least. Cool. So, changing the subject on a bit, I guess, how do you guys write songs as a band? Do you like jam in the room? Is there one band member who kind of comes going, here is my idea, or a combination or something like that? How does it work?
I think it's a combination most of the time. So if someone does come with an idea, it's kind of there to be developed, or we just kind of jam and think, is that a good riff? Does that, just record it and usually listen back and be like, oh, that bit sounds all right actually, and then kind of work on that. I think that's how it works.
It's riffs, man. It seems to be riffs. Like it'll just be, here's a little riff, and then I'll play a little drums with that, and then it's, where does that go into? And then, we'd build from there. But there has been times where JB's come in and just been like, here's a song, here's a full song, lyrics, riff, the lot, you play this, and it sounds,
Yeah, I think that's maybe happened like, one song an album kind of
one
thing.
song.
Yeah.
It's one, I think it's one song so far. But it was, Hellfire Revival, big tune.
Most of them, I think some of them we've actually I remember Sick of Myself, which was, I think, the main single off our last album in the end. I think it was that one, or maybe it was another one, but we were kind of trying to decide the bridge part, like, the day before in the studio, trying to work out, do we want to go double time or do we want to go half time? Do we want to go to this place? And it's like, we still hadn't fully decided that because of this kind of method is like starting with a riff, put another riff on, and having some options still, which I guess maybe is a good thing to have.
That's the problem with the starting with the riff writing, is you always end up back to that riff again. It's like, we can't continue with this riff. We need to add something new into the song, otherwise it's just elevator music for metalheads. Like,
so then, what's the alternative?
Go double time or half time, or
go double time or half time.
Whatever time you're in, half it.
Depends what kind of bridge you're doing, I guess.
Yeah, and if you've got a big riff at the end of the song, bring it back. Half time it. That's the secret sauce.
Oh, not back at double time.
Yeah, well, you can back at a different time. But if you want to guarantee dirty stank face on the crowd, bring it back half time, because that will guarantee a stank face from a crowd.
I guess I'm just thinking about Tremonti and actually realised nearly every song ends with drums at double time playing the intro riff. The more I think about it, the more that's
that does
the way
kick.
I go.
And I think, that song Sick of Myself I was referring to, that's actually, now you say, it's quite Alter Bridge Tremonti, and it does finish, I think, with drums doing the riff at the beginning, but they are double, yeah.
Extra it's the
snares,
same,
at least,
but
yeah.
extra snares.
The same but more. So, for you guys, how is the band managed? Do you have like a single band member who's like in charge, or do you share out tasks, or how does that kind of thing work for you?
We definitely share out tasks. It's using people's strong points is what we found works for us. Is there certain people in the band who are better at some things than others, and vice versa, and that seems to work out really nicely for us. I will personally take on a lot of the art. Jonny does a lot of the social media and a lot of the reels and stuff like that. And it's about taking those things that you're good at and confident at. And
on our old website, I've realised it's been updated now, but I edited it so it said who the band members were and what we played and stuff. And then I put head of, I think, Matt was head of art. And I think I was IT. Or something like
Ryan's got to be head of logistics, right? He's got to be Ryan Man, head of logistics.
And Ali was everything else, I guess.
Was just, yeah.
I mean, I picked a lot
of the band. Lead singer, king, god of Electric Black, Ali Shiak.
And is this gone to his head, or?
No. It's he's really good at the connection stuff. I personally suck at, but to put a like put a line out there and get people on board and be like, hey, look, we have this. And like, he's really, really good at that. So it's, you know, everybody has their strengths, which is great.
I mean, Ali is good at that, but he can't use like a computer. I mean, I don't know if he's
can't. Yeah, but that's what I mean. We've got our good and we've got our bad. Like, yes, he can have a conversation with someone and get us somewhere. Yes, he has a laptop from 1997. This is just how we deal with things.
I couldn't have a computer this old. That would
a megapixel an hour.
No. Oh,
I think that's the thing these days. Painful. I guess maybe in a band years ago they were kind of different tasks, but it's over like the world of social media and all the stuff we are required to do. You know, I don't know if like Metallica back in the 80s needed to be able to. I don't know. Maybe they had like VCR cameras and stuff actually, but you know, I'm assuming they kind of like played the music and then kind of like, let's do a tour, let's write an album. You know, it probably wasn't that simple, but you know, they weren't making reels, were they? Presumably.
That's it. I mean, it would have been so much more simple then, because there would have been a lot of it is trying to sell yourself now without the music side of it. You know, whereas like then it was, I'm trying to sell myself because of the music I'm creating, and this is what you're getting from us. Whereas now it's like, hi, we're Electric Black, and it's like, come on. Like,
I mean, I guess the positive flip side of it is you don't have to rely on other people to get somewhere. You can do it yourself. That is the big change from the 80s, certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would have needed like magazines and radio shows and all that kind of stuff. And I guess like one can just record themselves on their phone, and if it's like an interesting enough clip or whatever.
And it's stuff like this, like long form content. There wouldn't have been, you know, hour-long podcasts of James Hetfield in the 80s talking about all this stuff. Like, it would have been, oh, we got this 30-second clip on the news, and that's it. And, you know, you didn't get to know people in the same way you do now, which is a huge bonus.
I guess magazines would be the only outlet for that kind of thing, thinking about it, but that's very different.
Yeah, I guess you get it from the horse's mouth with podcasts, whereas like with magazines, you could be reading some editor's words. Like,
yeah. So how do you find social media? Is it burden, or is it joy, or somewhere in between, or
in between? I'd say.
Yeah, today's been mad. For example, it's the stuff, you know, the stuff you want to put out, like the music, nobody likes and shares because the algorithm buries it. And then we posted a video earlier today about our bass player staying in a cupboard, and it's currently got 169,000 views. So we're like, what is like? Yeah, in 24 hours, it's just madness. I don't understand.
But it's like people in it, like, you know, they're like, what are these guys? Are they a band? Are they just, you know, who are they? Because we're not even saying, hello, we are musicians, please listen to us. You know, it's just content.
Some of the comments are like, are these guys squatters? Like no.
Wow. Squatter rock. That's what you want to be.
That's it. Squatter rock. Electric Black. Squatter rock.
I can go on a poster. I mean, the kind of the kings of that kind of thing to me are Assenville. Have you seen Assenville
yeah, they've got some good
on
stuff.
Social media? They're mental for that kind of stuff.
I think, well, Ali made that post, and I think it might have been inspired by the kind of things they do. Potentially, it's the same.
I mean, it works for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
their follower account has gone so wild really quickly.
And you get to know people like characters in a TV show, you know, and then maybe you want to come and see the music because, oh, that drummer was funny, or yeah, that bass player did that thing, and I remember that.
It's really hard to start with the music.
Support them.
Yeah, you have to start with everything else, and then kind of try and lead people to the music and hope it's what they want. I mean, you know, I guess at Assenville that must work for them, but I mean, maybe some people who listen to their, you know, watch their stuff might think, actually, I'm not even really into rock music at all. It's just funny. Yeah,
I mean, to me, the easiest win is to put your music in the background of the clip.
Yeah,
and then you're drip feeding in something, which would help.
You start writing songs about sleeping in cupboards, and it would fit perfectly.
Yeah. I think R. Kelly beat us to that, didn't he? And about he did. I'm not lying.
Don't know.
Yeah, he had a song about
your word
being
for
in a cupboard. Let's just
I was thinking
Okay.
that in my closet, Eminem.
Eminem. Look, we could create a playlist. We've got a cupboard night playlist for your relaxing evening
Look.
in the cupboard.
This is the kind of thing that if you did it, might actually give you some weird traction in some way. So I'm just saying, do that, write a stupid song about being in a cupboard yourselves, and then put it in the playlist, and you're golden. I mean, one of the one of the tips that I saw someone talk about recently, and I went, that's really good idea. I don't know why bands do this, is when you have a song out, obviously at some point you're going to need to have some kind of video where someone is face to camera going, hey, here's a song, please listen. And it's how do you do that in a good way? And the way that someone suggested, and I went, that's really good, I don't know why bands don't do this as much, is to talk about why someone needs to listen to the song. And to go like, you know, the theme of I mean, this is a very formal way of doing it, you'd say it better than this, but the theme of the song is it's about this is why you need to listen to it, this is how you're going to connect with it. And that, thinking about it that way could be really helpful. I don't know, that's just my...
Yeah, I've seen things where people say, oh, you know, they start off that kind of, you know, video saying this song was about my life in this, you know, era when I lived in, you know, LA and I had a bad time sleeping in a cupboard. I don't know. Just, you know, they say the story, and it kind of, maybe it engages you because in the first 5 seconds it's like, oh, story. Whereas songs normally they start with an intro, loads of instrumental stuff, and then you know you listen to it a few times and you kind of gradually pick up what it's on about. But actually, you know, maybe starting with just like this is the you know the punchline, I suppose, could be a good way of doing it, provided the song's about something good.
And I know it's not a natural reaction for most musicians, because most musicians want people to listen to the lyrics and work out what they think it means, to kind of be dramatic about it. And I know this is a bit different, but I don't know, that just seems
2024. So I mean, as we said, you know, we're not Metallica in '82, so that's less likely to happen, you know, straight away at least.
Yeah, well, social media is I think it's here to stay, unfortunately.
I don't think it's going anywhere.
No.
Unless it gets banned by, like, you know, some leader of the world and who decides to ban it, if that ever happens. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
And then it's back to the magazines.
Back to the mags.
Back to the magazines. Excellent. I look forward to our new magazine overlords. So a reference for you there. What, in your opinion, you can have a separate kind of idea of this, what has been the biggest success of the band so far? It could be a moment, a particular release, it could be anything really. What do you think?
I mean, I've got a couple.
I can take a couple, that's all right.
Probably the two I would say would be getting into the rock charts with the album. That was really nice to know that we have backing from people, you know, like people do believe in us and do want our product that we're releasing, because you never know until you have something like that where you've got something to achieve, and then when you do, you go, oh, okay, cool, this is awesome, that means we can continue to do this. And probably the last tour we did, where we were supporting the Bad Touch, I would say that as a whole was a big successful moment for the band, because we were coming off stage and compliments were coming at us, and we knew that, okay, we can grab people at shows. So to have that combination of both those things, it was a very big boost for the band.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot about those. Those were good ones. But I was going to say, as an individual moment, the Saracens gig, we played before a Saracens rugby match. It was the
final
semi-final of the rugby
semi-final
Premiership. Yeah, semi-final.
I said final. So
the final was at Twickenham, so that would have been good. I mean, that would have been really good. Like this was kind of good, but yeah, we played one of our own songs, but it's a song we'd kind of forgotten about, and someone, you know, from the Saracens team, you know, an organizer, had listened to it and said, this really, like, you know, talks to us and it represents our team, like the lyrics about, and it's, you know, we're just talking about lyrics and how people don't listen to them, you know, first time around, but clearly they did. And we played that, to a crowd of like more than 10,000 of their fans before the live I was playing, which is something I don't think they'd done before, or like not done very much before anyway. So yeah, it's kind of a bit of an honour to be chosen in that way. And then we carried on. We played their openings, AC/DC Back in Black. We played that for them, and yeah, just had like a good day out. So I guess as a moment, I kind of feel like that was a bit of a privilege. Yeah, definitely this year's tours, those were also good. Now that Matt has mentioned those,
yeah, the Saracens thing was crazy because for a Premier League rugby team to be like, "Hey, we really dig what your song says," and you're a band that has at the time like 2,000 likes.
Yeah, like we're an unknown band.
This is really cool. Like they're an actual legit rugby team, and they like
chose us.
Music.
Like, they won.
That's cool, man.
They won the Premiership, so it's like they weren't unknown.
So good times.
So who knows? There might be more opportunities like that, but I think they're hard to come by. That isn't our normal.
That's it.
Day out.
That's the goal.
Saturday, isn't
Get to Twickenham.
Yeah, isn't to 10,000 people at the moment, unfortunately. But one day.
I mean, the last time I was at Twickenham, I saw Iron Maiden play, but you never know. You could join.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Join those hallowed crowds. I mean, is there like? I guess there must be like a moment where, especially when you're about to release music, but I guess any gig really, a moment where you go, this will either be incredible or will be like really awful. Are people going to hate it? What's going to happen? Like, how do you kind of deal with that mentally?
You don't. You don't. You just go with it. It's too late now. It's one of those things. It's too late. If you don't think it's going to go well, you should have stopped it a long time ago. If you've got this far, then it's on. Like, let's just go.
Yeah, I think you've got to have faith a bit, haven't you? As you said, there is obviously, as you were saying, there is a bit of in the back of your mind, like, are people going to like this? But I guess part of me is like, well, we're doing what we do. Not everyone's going to like it. So, there's
only one way to find out.
One song better than the other. And some people, might like the song that no one else likes on the album or whatever. So I guess it is a risk, like, doing any of this stuff, like what music you choose to do and what you choose to release out of your own kind of, catalogue. But I guess you have to hold your head high and have confidence. Because if you start thinking about it and think, oh, should I have been doing this? Should I have like gone and done Ed Sheeran covers instead, or whatever? Then then you're not, your mind's not in it, and you're not going to like give it enough. You have to be like better than the next band. I suppose there is a bit of that. Like, you can't just be lazy in this game at this level.
But believe in the gimmick. Like, if there's always going to be that fear. There's always going to be that worry, and that it's gonna, no matter what. So there's just compartmentalize it and then deal with that later on in life.
Fair enough. So, as a band, what goals or plans do you have for the next? Hang on, let me start that question again because that wasn't phrased well. Let me just say it as it's written down. So, what goals do you guys have for the band in the next 6 months to a year or so?
I think it's really writing again, because we mentioned writing a lot a few years ago, but we haven't really like written together, and that's kind of what we do in a while now. So I think that's definitely a goal. Amongst
I think it's probably the main goal in a way is the writing, because we've done the headline tour for the album now. We've got a couple of shows coming up over the Christmas period, but it's mainly just time for us to get together again, go into a bit of a hibernation state, and come out with some good new music. I think it's the plan.
Yeah, we've kind of been touring a lot this year. Kind of, it didn't feel like it at the time, but now we've finished it, and Ryan's done his last shift sleeping in a cupboard. It was, we've got around, we've done a lot. We've still got a few dates, but not like a tour, as it's kind of more chilled out from now on. So yeah, good to take some time and be able to work on the other parts of being the band that isn't just being on the road, I suppose, which are very important. We did a lot of that in the whole lockdown period we're talking about, but maybe having a little bit of that back isn't a bad thing for the first 6 months at least, I think. But who knows? We might end up just getting bored and being like, let's just book another tour.
Yeah. It would be nice to go next time we do a big run of shows. It would be nice to be like, here's a new song, and have, for those people who have been to see us, because we see faces at gigs multiple times a year. So it'd be nice to come back with some new stuff, some fresh stuff.
I mean, hopefully people aren't totally bored with our stuff yet, but I feel like maybe it'd be interesting for us. I think like we, aren't bored of it, but we'll feel better having something fresh in there too. So.
Is that with a view to kind of road testing them and then seeing how they go live and then refining?
Yeah, I guess it probably would be that. Yeah, I mean, we definitely did that with the the current stuff we're playing before we recorded it. There's a lot of testing it out all over the place. We did a tour of Spain, I think, where we just pulled out 8 new songs and just played them the whole time because no one in Spain knew our music. So we thought, well, let's just play something totally different to what we have online. That
was a really good thing to do actually for us, because we got to really road test the second album to entirely fresh ears.
And if the lyrics were bad, it didn't matter because most of them didn't understand a word. So
it was good exercise for us.
Nice. So my penultimate question for you both: what's your best piece of advice for bands nowadays?
Or what for, say young bands just starting out kind of thing, or
It could be anything. This is deliberately a wide open, vague question.
Be prepared. Be prepared. It's not just playing shows to people, and it's not all enjoyable. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and because it's legit. Like when you see it at a younger age, and you're like, "This is fantastic. I really want to be a part of this." You don't think about how much work goes into it, and it is a lot. And there's a lot of sleepless nights, and a lot of sharing a van, and which is good. It's good, but there's a lot of it. So get ready for that. That's my piece of advice.
I mean, I actually teach a lot of teenagers. I teach a few groups of enthusiastic young wannabe rock stars, and some of them are really good. Some of them are just doing it because I guess they enjoy it, and they're less good at the moment, but they might get better. Let's hope they do. But I give them bits of advice. It's hard for them to see. They're just let's play a gig, or let's do a recording. And if you play a gig, you're like, people are there, amazing, best time ever. If you do a recording and someone listens to it, you're like, amazing. But I mean, we know now that your gig might be in Inverness or something. It might not be in your hometown, middle of the town square, whatever. You might have to travel for ages and ages, and all that comes with that. And you turn up and the sound's not great, and you've forgotten an important bit of equipment, and the bass player's annoying you or whatever it is.
So you put him in a cupboard.
Yeah. And with recordings, of course, recordings are expensive. I guess that is, you can get one of these little Focusrite things, and you can plug your guitar in. Or I've got a Kemper here, but that costs. You can get equipment, you can do it at home. But really, I mean, does it ever work that well? I mean, there must be examples of when it has, but I think they're the minority. You've got to go somewhere to record if someone knows what they're doing. And there's a lot of different opinions going on. But I mean, I guess ultimately it makes people better. All the classic albums are an input of a lot of people. A lot of different thoughts went into it, and they probably kind of had to restart songs and get things remastered. And but you don't think about that when you're young and starting out. It's all just amazing. Yeah, gig, yeah, recording.
But don't not do it.
Yeah.
Please do it. It sounds like we're saying just avoid it at all costs because it's hard work. But no, it's amazing, and it has.
I guess put the work in. As much work in as you can when you're learning, and it isn't just learning to play an instrument. It's there's more than that. As Matt was saying, your pedals have got to work. And my wireless has got to work, and all of the conditions that you might have to be faced with, just try and get ahead if possible.
Yeah, you didn't charge your wireless, and you forgot your wireless charger cable. But you're 12,000 miles away from home. Figure that one out, dude. Okay.
No, that's good advice. I like it. So, to close out the podcast, I'd like to ask for your favourite song from the band, which has been released, to play at the end of the episode. So, which song is it and why? And I'm afraid you'll have to agree on a song.
Oh, Jonny, it's all you, mate. You have this one.
I mean, I'm going to say Sick of Myself because I talked about it a bit. And it was the kind of leading track off the second album. It wasn't supposed to be, but it kind of ended up being that for some reason. Has a cool video. We play it live every time, or we try to, but sometimes we get cut off short, and that's really annoying. So yeah, that's why I'm going to say to play it, because the last gig we did, we didn't get to play it because we got cut short. You all right with that, Matt?
Yeah, that's good with me, man.
Wow. Well, this is Electric Black with Sick of Myself. Guys, thank you for talking.
Thank you so much for having us, man.